The sun had barely broken through the gray morning clouds when I decided to run a small errand for Mira, my daughter-in-law. She'd asked me so sweetly the night before, her voice like honey, her smile so effortlessly warm. "Amma," she said, handing me a crumpled, dry cleaning ticket. "I completely forgot about my coat. Could you pick it up for me tomorrow? I have back-to-back meetings." Of course, I agreed. Why wouldn't I? Mira had always been the daughter I never had. Since she married my son Rehan 3 years ago, she made a place for herself in this home, and in my heart. Polite, soft-spoken, always calling me Amma. With such sincerity, I'd stopped feeling the absence of my late husband. We were a family again, or so I thought. The dry cleaner was on the corner of Shanty Bazaar, a tiny shop with a rusted blue sign and the smell of steam and starch wafting into the street. I pushed open the door and was greeted by the familiar clang of the bell above. The shop owner, an older man with tired eyes and a neat white kurta, looked up and smiled. "Ah, you're back," he said, picking up the coat. I handed him the ticket without much thought. "Yes, for my daughter-in-law." He took it, scanning the tag. "This one, yes, the beige wool coat. Beautiful piece. They brought it in together last week. Your daughter and her husband, right?" I paused. "My daughter-in-law and who?" He looked up, confused. "Her husband, tall man, spectacles, clean shaven. They came together. I remember because they were so close, joking, holding hands. Young love, you know." My mouth went dry. My fingers clutched the strap of my handbag a little tighter. "That wasn't her husband," I said slowly. "Her husband is my son. He's a doctor. He works long hours. He didn't bring this coat in." The dry cleaner's face changed. Embarrassment, panic, guilt. I couldn't tell. His eyes dropped back to the counter. I must have made a mistake. He mumbled, quickly wrapping the coat in plastic. "Sorry, ma'am. It's ready for pickup." I nodded, silent, and took the coat. Outside, the street felt colder than before. The traffic noise blurred into the distance, and the world moved in slow motion. I stood still, clutching that coat like it was a bomb waiting to go off. Back home, I didn't tell Mira anything. She was in the kitchen, laughing softly on a call, her voice low and affectionate. When she saw me, she ended it quickly and came to take the coat from my hands. "Thank you so much, Amma," she said. "I'll make you some tea." I stared at her for a moment longer than I should have. Her eyes sparkled with the same warmth I used to trust. But now there was something else. I walked past her, coat still in hand, and went to my room. That night, when everyone had gone to sleep, I sat on the edge of my bed, the coat laid out in front of me. I ran my fingers over the fabric, smooth and luxurious. It smelled faintly of Mira's perfume, lavender and rose. But beneath that was something else, a sharpness, a lie hidden in the folds. I reached into the pockets. The left was empty. In the right, I found a crumpled receipt. My heart thudded in my chest as I unfolded it. "Oberoi Grand Hotel, Suite 903, 1 night, 2 guests, paid in cash." I stared at the date. It was the same day the dry cleaner said Mira came in, with her husband. I didn't cry that night. I didn't storm into her room or call my son. I just sat there, the coat across my lap, the receipt in my hand, and 1,000 needles pricking at my chest. Something was broken, and I needed to find out just how deep the crack ran. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the receipt, or the coat, or the dry cleaner's words. I didn't sleep because I realized I was afraid to look at Mira the same way again, and find a stranger where I once saw a daughter. The next morning, Mira made breakfast like she always did. She floated through the kitchen in her pale blue robe, humming softly to herself. The smell of toasted bread, eggs, and cardamom tea filled the air. It should have felt comforting, familiar. But everything had a hollow ring to it now, like a stage play where the actors didn't know the audience had caught them in a lie. She handed me a cup of tea with a smile. "You look tired, Amma. Didn't sleep well." I met her gaze. Those same soft eyes, same gentle tone, but I didn't answer. Instead, I watched. In the days that followed, I became a ghost in my own house, floating from room to room, watching her. Quietly, carefully. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for the truth. Mira was careful, too careful. Her phone was always locked and never left unattended. She kept her purse with her even in the kitchen. She'd smile too quickly when Rehan spoke about their future. She'd flinch just barely whenever he kissed her cheek. One evening, I found her coat again hanging in the hallway. Something made me check the inner pocket. This time, I found a small, folded note. It simply said, "Same time next week. Miss you already." There was no name. No number, no heart emoji. Just cold, clinical betrayal, like they didn't need to pretend it was love. It was routine. I put the note back. Flashbacks haunted me. I remembered Mira's wedding day, how she'd cried during the vows, holding Rehan's hand so tightly. I remembered how she used to sit beside me in the evenings, oiling my hair, asking about my youth. I remembered the night Rehan had his first anxiety attack at the hospital, and how Mira stayed awake massaging his hands, whispering reassurances. Was it all a lie, or had something changed? I asked myself that question every day, but no matter how much I searched for the fault, the cracks always led back to one truth. She chose to deceive. I couldn't tell Rehan, not yet. He was too trusting, too in love, and too exhausted. Work had consumed him. Night shifts, surgeries, medical journals. He barely saw daylight. He wore that stress like a second skin, but Mira had always been his anchor. If I told him now, he wouldn't believe me. He'd defend her, he'd break. No, I needed more than whispers and suspicion. I needed proof. A week later, I did something I never thought I would. I followed her. She left the house at 4:30 p.m., dressed casually, saying she had a client meeting at a cafe in Southview. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my shawl and slipped into an auto rickshaw. I kept my distance, heart pounding as I saw her walk into a quiet hotel on the outskirts of town. Not a cafe, not even a coffee shop. A hotel. I waited. 40 minutes later, I saw him, the man from the dry cleaner's description. Tall, glasses, shirt tucked too neatly. He walked in with practiced ease. Not long after, the receptionist handed them a keycard. They went up together. I didn't take photos. I didn't need to. The image was burned into my mind and into my heart. That evening, Mira came home humming again, as if nothing had happened. She kissed Rehan on the cheek, told him she missed him. And he smiled like a fool in love. I couldn't eat dinner that night. Instead, I sat on the terrace under the fading purple sky, wondering how long this had been going on. Had it started during the first year of their marriage? Was it when Rehan started working longer shifts? Had she ever really loved him? I thought of calling the man's wife, if he had one. I thought of barging into their next hotel meet and tearing the mask off Mira's face. But I didn't. I chose something else. I started keeping a journal. Every meeting, every lie, every excuse Mira told. I backed up everything, even the note from the coat. I made a list of hotel dates. I collected receipts Mira threw away, took photos of her phone when I had seconds alone with it. I wasn't acting out of rage. I was building something. A quiet, deliberate case, not for court, not for scandal. But for Rehan, he deserved the truth, the whole truth, and he deserved to see it laid bare, not told in teardrops and trembling words. I would give him the gift of clarity, and Mira, she would be unmasked, not in screams, not in slaps, but in silence, and in front of the very people she pretended for. 2 weeks before Rehan's birthday, I found myself staring at a blank flash drive on my table. It sat beside a printed folder labeled Mira Evidence. I hadn't spoken a word to her, not one accusation, not one hint of what I knew. I smiled when she smiled. I nodded when she brought me tea. I acted as if I hadn't watched her walk into hotels with another man, as if I hadn't saved screenshots of every message she carelessly left on her lock screen. She had no idea. But she would. Rehan's birthday arrived on a quiet Sunday morning. I decorated the living room with strings of marigolds and old family photos. Mira helped, of course she did, laughing, playing the perfect wife. She baked his favorite chocolate cake. She even touched up her sindoor a little deeper that day, the symbol of her marriage shining bright. How poetic, I thought. How fitting that the brightest flame should burn before it dies. Family and a few close friends arrived by evening. Everyone chatted, laughed, and filled the house with warmth, the kind that Mira had been slowly poisoning behind closed doors. After dinner, as the cake was brought out, I stood up quietly and tapped my spoon to the glass. "I have something to say," I announced. Mira looked surprised. Rehan smiled at me. "Amma, a birthday toast." I nodded. "Yes, a toast, but not just for you, Beta, for the truth." I turned to Mira and handed her a neatly folded piece of paper. She took it, curious. Her hands unfolded it. Her face paled. Her eyes flicked back up to me. She recognized the handwriting immediately. "There's a USB in the prayer drawer. If you don't show him, I will." The silence in the room grew sharp. She opened her mouth, closed it, then she laughed awkwardly. "What's this about, Amma?" I looked at Rehan. "Beta, go get the USB in the prayer room, top drawer." He did, still confused, still trusting. He plugged it into the television. What played next wasn't violent or graphic. It didn't need to be. Just a series of screenshots, hotel receipts, call logs, love messages from someone saved only as M. Then a voice memo from the dry cleaner, recorded the week after I found the coat. "Yes, she comes in with him often. I assumed they were married. They seem close." Mira's body stiffened as if something inside her had snapped. Gasps came from around the room. Someone dropped a fork. Rehan didn't say a word. His eyes didn't even blink. He just stared at the screen, and Mira, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. But not regret, not really. Just fear. "Why did you do this?" She whispered. "You could have talked to me." I did. I said quietly. "Every day, with my silence, with the trust you crushed under your heel. But you smiled through it like nothing mattered." She looked at Rehan. "Please, let me explain." He stepped back. The sound of his foot against the marble was louder than her voice. "No," he said. "Just that. One word. She left that night. No screaming. No dragging of bags. No drama. She just walked out of the house with a shawl over her head, her steps shaking under the weight of her own choices. Some relatives stayed. Most didn't know what to say, and I finally exhaled. In the days that followed, Rehan barely spoke. But he stayed home more. He took time off work. He cooked with me. He sat on the terrace in the evenings, staring at the stars like he used to when he was a boy. One night, he turned to me and asked, "How long did you know?" "A while," I said. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I met his eyes. "Because pain is like medicine, Beta. Too soon, and the patient rejects it. You needed to see it for yourself." He nodded. And then, softly, he said the words that made all of it worth it. "Thank you, Amma, for protecting me." I held his hand. "That's what mothers do."